Think about this, guys. Your business has all been about you, right? And what are the big three things you want when you have your own business? You want to make money. You want to make as much money as you possibly can. I know some of you guys feel like you're maybe running charities, but no, the reality is the goal is to make money. Second, hopefully you're going to have some time left over. Go out and do the things you want to do with the people you want to do them with. And then third, to provide some security. Nobody wants to be hanging on by their fingertips all the time. So, those big three, you want to make money, you want to have some time to go out and enjoy life, and you want to have some security for you and your team. Your team members need that security as well. But you guys are here watching this video because you are in the time period where you're starting to think of, maybe I'm going to slow down a little bit. Maybe I'm going to sell the business. And we have to start looking at things different. Jerry, we got to start looking at what your buyer wants, right? Because it's not all about you anymore. It's about your buyer now.
I want to think, Ron, you mentioned putting on a different pair of lenses and looking at things through the buyer. And I often did that when I was looking for an employee, right? So early on, when I'm looking for a technician, it's all about me. What do I want? But now we got to change gears, because as you're starting to prepare to think about, hey, at some point I'm going to be selling this business, now we need to put that lens on as what the buyer is looking for. You mentioned all the great things that I was always looking for as a business owner, right? More money, more free time, on and on. But a buyer's looking for, they're maybe taking a different look inside your business.
Absolutely. So what are those things they're looking for? First and foremost, nobody wants to buy a business that is not making any money, right? Why would you shell out your hard-earned money to somebody else's business that's not making any money? So first and foremost, you got to be looking at the profitability of your business. Another thing is, look, if I was buying a business, I wouldn't want to be buying a business in a dead industry. This is definitely an industry that's going to be around a while. I mean, heck, it's pandemic proof. So we've proven that. So I think it's a really great industry to be in. But then this third thing is the owner's autonomy, okay? Because I know if I'm buying a business, I don't want to buy a job. I want to buy a thriving business that can work without me. But let's start breaking these things down: profitability, future opportunity, and autonomy. So profitability, Jerry, you're the numbers ninja. You're the guy that always looks at the numbers. What should you be paying attention to when it comes to that profitability?
Well, as I'm starting to gain momentum towards selling the business, I really want to improve that bottom line. So I want to try to make that net as high as possible, because that's one of the big factors. They're going to use some type of multiplier times that net. One of the things I would say most business owners do, of course, is we run some personal expenses through the business, right? We're going to save a little bit on taxes. I get it. But as you prepare to sell your business, somebody's going to want to take a look at those financials, and nobody wants to hear, hey, I got another set of books that you want to take a look at. So I would try to start cleaning up your P&L. Yes, it may cost you a little bit on taxes on the front side, but you're going to get so much more on the back side when it comes time to sell that business.
So let's talk about the future opportunity of the business. The cars are changing, they're getting better and better, but the reality is this business is going to be rock solid for years and years to come.
Yeah, we survived so much in this business, and 30 plus years as a shop owner, I've seen everything from, recessions, pandemics, the collapse of the banking industry, and our business is virtually bulletproof. People are always going to be driving cars, so I can't think of really much that's going to affect our industry.
Absolutely. Let's talk about and spend a few extra minutes here on this owner autonomy, because if that business is built on your back and you can't even walk away for a couple of days or a long weekend without having to check with the shop, with the phone ringing constantly, the text messages coming in right now, your business is not ready to sell, because that new potential buyer is going to be looking at that. And if you're not able to do it, why in the heck is he able to do that? I think it's a great test. If you can go away for 2 weeks and not call the shop, and the shop can't get a hold of you, and you come back and everything is still working fine, I think you're ready to sell the business from the autonomy point of view, because again, every one of these things is a multiplier. And if you don't have to be there, you're going to get a higher multiplier of your profitability when you go to sell it.